The Prime Minister has branded Reform UK's immigration plan racist and immoral as he tries to turn Labour's fortunes around and reset the narrative at the party's annual conference.
Let's speak to Head of Reform UK's Department of Government Efficiency, Zia Yusuf. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Your policies are racist and immoral, says the Prime Minister.
Well, given this Prime Minister is literally the least popular, the most unpopular Prime Minister on record, according to polls this week, look, the reality is that the British people are sick and tired of having their legitimate concerns about immigration being sneered at, being belittled, and ultimately being insulted for raising those legitimate concerns. What Reform have announced is that migrants must pay their way, speak English, and not commit crime. And the fact that Keir Starmer considers that policy and those very reasonable people, the majority, frankly, of the people in this country who agree with that policy as racist, says everything about the fact that this is a Prime Minister circling the drain, who is speaking to the activists in his own party. And that is why Reform is on course to win the next general election.
But Zia Yusuf, to be fair, that's not just what you're saying about migrants, because what you've just outlined is what the Labour Party want to do. The thing is that you want to look at migrants who have indefinite leave to remain and may have been here for a number of years. You want to root people out who don't fit new criteria, retrospectively, retroactively fitting criteria to people who've lived here for years. That's what people are criticising as racist, undermining the fabric of society, divisive. It's intimidating for people who may have been here for decades.
Susanna, with respect, that's exactly, look, what we've just said, what I just said is exactly what our policy is, which is that if you are a foreign national in this country and you are here on a visa, you're here legally, then we expect you to pay your way, i.e. be a net contributor to the economy and not be a burden on the taxpayer, the people listening and watching this programme, to speak English and to not commit crime. That is what our policy is.
Is there a time cut-off point for your new policy on indefinite leave to remain?
Well, we're abolishing the whole concept of indefinite leave to remain. Our view is that we should follow many other serious countries in the world in saying that if you are here on a work visa, then we expect you to be able to renew that visa every 5 years, or you have a path to citizenship. That path will continue to be available to people. But, Ed, we've got to be serious about this. This country can ill afford to continue to be a food bank for the world. Last year alone, the British taxpayer, the people watching this programme, spent £9 billion on universal credit alone for foreign nationals. That number is going to balloon once this Boris wave, the 3.8 million people who came here under Boris Johnson, to get indefinite leave to remain, at which point they get lifetime access to our welfare system and can bring an unlimited number of dependents into the country. The British people, it's totally unfair to expect them to foot that bill, and even worse, to brand them racist.
Zia Yusuf, in June 2025, there were 7.9 million people on universal credit, and 2.7% were in the indefinite leave to remain group. That's 213,000 people taken from that number of 7.9 million. Most people on universal credit are Brits.
Well, while most people are, the propensity for foreign nationals, the likelihood of a foreign national to be claiming universal credit is much higher. The reality is one in six claimants of universal credit are foreign nationals. ILR is just one portion of that. But, Susanna, what you're doing there is actually being quite, with respect, ILR. You're being quite misleading.
That is because, specifically, you're specifically
proposing. And the reason why we're talking about ILR, Susanna, is because of the looming Boris wave.
Saying 9 billion universal credit when it's 7.9 million
Susanna,
people.
With respect, your numbers are completely wrong. I said, and you're misquoting me, I said 1 in 6 of the people who claimed universal credit last year are foreign nationals. You then switched it to ILR. I said foreign nationals. And if we're talking about ILR, the reason why this policy is necessary is because the millions of people who will shortly become eligible for ILR, underscore on shortly become eligible for, they are the ones who drive the hundreds of billions of pounds of cost because they are about to become eligible for ILR. So you don't see it in last year's numbers. So we've got to be serious, Susanna. With respect, we have to be serious about this problem. So the reality is it is going to be hundreds of billions of pounds of cost to the British taxpayer. The people watching this programme, it is unfair for these people to have to go to work, pay their taxes, to pay for foreign nationals to get benefits in this country. And Reform are the only party serious about addressing that issue.
And you've said you're going to deport 600,000 people. So these are the kind of people you'd be looking to deport. Just to understand...
Well, that was in the context of illegal migration. We're currently talking about legal migration. If you look at any country in the world, Ed, any serious country in the world, once you withdraw the benefits, most of the people who are claiming those benefits end up leaving of their own accord. And by the way, this Labour's own government, read the Telegraph today, look at the news today, Labour's own government today are saying that they want to increase, in response to our policy, they want to increase ILR qualifying period from 5 to 10 years, or maybe even not at all. I'm
just trying to understand who this applies to. So if you came here in the 1970s as an Asian person fleeing from Idi Amin's policies in Uganda, you've lived here for 40 years, but you're on a low income with independent leave to remain, under your policy, if your income is too low, then you would be asked to leave.
No, because you would have a pathway to citizenship. So the pathway to citizenship remains. And most of the people you're describing there, Ed, would have already claimed citizenship. So again, what constantly seems to happen is this hysterical referral to some hypothetical that largely does not exist because the path to citizenship continues to exist.
We're just trying to understand it. So if you came here from Hong Kong in 2020, escaping there because you were a refugee and were given a citizenship, independent leave to remain from Boris Johnson's government, or you are on track to get that, would you now lose that if there was a Reform government?
For those who have come here from Hong Kong as part of that BNO visa programme, those people, a significant portion, would qualify for the work visa if they wanted to do that. And if they didn't, there would be a humanitarian visa that would continue to be available to them and ultimately citizenship.
And if you
we are talking about the 3.8 million non-EU migrants who came here under Boris Johnson, who are going to be hundreds of billions of pounds worth of a drain on the British taxpayer's purse. We can ill afford it, and it's totally unfair on the people watching this programme for them to go to work to pay for that.
But I thought you said that people who came here on the post-Brexit deal agreed with the EU wouldn't have this policy applied to them. I mean, listening to you speaking, if you came from Uganda, if you came from Hong Kong, as I understand it, if you came from the EU, you're going to say, actually, either you're going to become a citizen or you're going to be on a new humanitarian visa. Who are the people you're actually going to deport? I mean, isn't this a bit of a con?
Ed, either I misheard you or you referred to Uganda and Hong Kong as inside the EU. Obviously, those are not countries in the EU. What we have said is we're talking about indefinite leave to remain.
Or Uganda,
we're talking about indefinite leave to remain.
Don't be silly, Zia.
Here are the facts, Ed. Here are the facts. There were 3.8 million people brought in as part of what we call this Boris wave, against the wishes of the British people who voted for less immigration. Instead, they got afterburners put on immigration. Over 90% of those people are from non-EU countries. And any sensible, reasonable estimate of the cost of those people to the British taxpayer, because the majority are dependents, half of them do not work and never will be hundreds of billions of pounds. Those are the people that we are primarily concerned about. Well, we make no apologies for this.
How many of them will you
British welfare funded by the British taxpayer should not be payable to foreign nationals. And it is unacceptable that that continues to happen.
You said you were going to deport illegal immigrants, but these people who came here legally, how many of them will you deport in the first Parliament of a Reform government in order to make these savings that you say you can make?
Well, the most important thing is that we're going to stop the benefits from going to people who are those foreign nationals. That's the thing that is going to save people money. And once that happens, all the evidence, if you look at sensible countries around the world who have serious immigration policies and successful immigration policies, and, by the way, uphold their borders, those people leave of their own accord. But again, we make no apologies for this. Under a Reform government, yes, we will enforce immigration law. I know that might send some people hysterical in the political establishment because that hasn't happened for decades, but I think British people expect our borders to be upheld. Look, just over the weekend, just yesterday, 125 illegal migrants crossed the Channel in a single boat. That's a record. The only thing that Labour are doing is breaking record in some kind of new industrial revolution inside the illegal dinghy market. Our borders are porous. The British people are sick and tired of it, Ed. And I'm sorry, calling them racist simply will not work.
The problem is, Zia Yusuf, there will be very many of our viewers who've lived in this country for years, even for decades, who have independent leave to remain, who've had children born here, who came here for legal reasons, who have worked hard, who may now be in the later years of their life. They will be scared that you're going to say retrospectively, we're going to throw you out. What do you say to them?
Ed, what makes you think those people are going to have to leave? I want to reiterate, the visa that we are proposing, just like many normal countries, serious countries like the United States, for example, if you want to stay on it, if you want to not be a citizen, you can continue to renew that visa, or you continue to have your part of citizenship. And the person, that hypothetical person, and again, we're always talking about these hypotheticals, fine, they can become a citizen. But we make no apologies for this. The British taxpayer, the alternative is we leave the system as it is. We ask the people watching this programme to continue to pay more taxes. We're about to have a Rachel Reeves budget that hikes up taxes once again. The quality of life for British people continues to decline. It is totally unacceptable for them to have to fund a food bank for the world and for foreign nationals to continue to draw hundreds of billions of pounds from the welfare state over the coming decades.
The problem is, every time I say to you, somebody from Uganda, from Hong Kong, somebody who's been here for years, somebody who came from the EU under an agreed thing, you say they can stay. We've got a visa for them. You seem to be saying everybody who I put to you, they can stay. Who are the ones that are going to leave?
The ones who are going to have to leave are the people who are on benefits. I want to reiterate that 3.8 million people number in terms of the Boris wave. Half of them do not work, and all the historic data shows will never work. Let me give you an example. In 2023, the government predicted, the Tory government predicted it would dish out 6,000. It would issue 6,000 visas for care workers. Do you know how many they issued in the end? 52 times that number, and the majority were dependents. So this is a catastrophe. And those are the people I'm talking about who are ultimately going to end up being a massive drain on the economy, unless we get serious and say we're going to train British people to do these jobs, unless we get serious and say we are not willing to pay welfare. If people want to come to this country and contribute and speak English and not commit crime, those people are going to continue to be welcomed, Ed. But the reality is it is totally unfair to expect British taxpayers to fund a food bank for the world, to spend tens and ultimately hundreds of billions of pounds on welfare for foreign nationals, and then to call them racist when they raise concerns about that.
Right.
Zia Yusuf, thank you very much indeed.